Bleeding a shock is the most cumbersome task you have to do on any suspension workshop, not only because it takes a lot of time to do it, but because it is a messy job and fairly easy to mess it up. However, bleeding a shock with Lava 7's automatic shock vacuum bleed pump couldn't be more hassle-free and reliable. Our machine can bleed several types of shocks, more than one at a time, and will guarantee a perfect refill every time. Let's take a look at each process. Bleeding a shock manually involves multiple steps that are really time-consuming. You start by bleeding the bladder to make sure there are no bubbles trapped on the reservoir. After that, you have to make sure there aren't any air bubbles stuck on the piston, and that includes between the shims, on the piston's ports, and between the piston and the piston band. The next manual step is to remove air from the compression shim stack, which can take a long time and requires you to stop and let the air bubbles aggregate and rise on top, and even give some taps to break the bubbles free. It's a cumbersome and really demanding task that requires full focus to make sure there is no air remaining. Once the piston is bled, you have to make sure the seal head is inserted without any air bubbles as well, making you spill and waste oil. The last stage of the manual bleeding process consists of bleeding the shock body once more to get rid of air bubbles on the rebound shim stack. Since the shock has too much oil when you bleed it manually, on the final stage things can get messy. Like really messy. Only then you can be sure that the shock is properly bled. On the other hand, on the vacuum bleed pump, you just need to thread the adapter onto the damper, plug the oil hose, and with a few clicks, start the bleeding program. In the meantime, with the Lava 7 vacuum bleed pump, you just need to wait for the vacuum and pressure cycles to complete while you're doing something else, like taking a nice cup of coffee. Lava 7's vacuum bleed pump allows you to focus your time and attention on the details that matter, like doubling down on other shocks during the bleeding process, while the machine provides a consistent and reliable shock refill every time. And we're not even considering the amount of oil you can save along the year or the consumables you don't spend during the messy manual process. Let us know in the comments what tips and tricks about servicing shock absorbers you would like us to cover in future videos. If you are looking for an automatic vacuum bleed pump, contact us or visit lava7.com today.